Well, it's another hot but dry start to the week in Gauteng, with rainwater reservoirs still under strain and power cuts resuming at 4 p.m. It seems residents have buckets full of challenges. eNCA reporter Aviwe Mtila is on the ground monitoring the situation and the impact on residents and businesses. Let's cross to him live now and get an update from him. So Aviwe, it's becoming that reality, right? That you can either have water or electricity, but it's unlikely, it's becoming more and more unlikely that you will consistently have both at the same time. What's the impact on businesses and ordinary people in Gauteng that you've been engaging with?
Afternoon, Bratulas, and they're feeling the pinch on the ground. I've been crisscrossing the breadth and width of Johannesburg, and residents say that it's a nightmare. On top of not having constant electricity supply, they're also now feeling the burden of not having water in areas such as Coronaville, where they haven't had water for at least 3 weeks. That's Coronationville. I'm now at a pub in Malville, Bratulas. It's strictly for work purposes, but even if it wasn't, I would have to leave here early because there is no water. In fact, just to get an idea of how it's impacting the business here, I am joined by the owner of Jolly Cools here in Malville, Jonathan Hagadi. Thank you for joining us at eNCA, but maybe give us details on how long it's been without water and the impact it's having on the business.
Well, it's been about 10 days so far. We had water yesterday, and then there's no water again today. The major implications are your cost implications and your hygiene implications. Cost implications being that we have to truck water in, buying it at a premium, so therefore paying higher costs. And then the hygiene implication, if we don't truck water in, we can't do the cleaning, we can't do the preparation at the back, which impacts our business and what we provide to the client. So that's the two major implications. And then there's just the basic stuff, you know, when you come to a bar, you drink, you want to go to the bathroom. You can't flush the toilet. So we have to truck in water for that as well, because we don't want people to leave because they, you know, have smelly bathrooms and just basic hygiene. So those are your basic implications. And then just general, you know, it's we're all looking forward to summer, we're looking forward to peak season. You come to a place for a bit of respite to get something to drink, get a bit of ice in your drink. We can't provide ice, we have to buy ice. So these are the small costs that eventually they add up. And we hope that it doesn't have an economic impact on our staff, because there's certain fixed costs which we have to maintain, staffing, rent, those kind of things. And if we have these small costs all weighing up, eventually we have to make decisions. And unfortunately, we hope it doesn't lead to more unemployment in the future.
And this headache of having irregular water supply comes at the backdrop of not having consistent electricity. Maybe tell us about that as well, and these small costs, a rough estimate to exactly how much they're adding up to so far.
Yeah, load shedding has a proper financial impact when it comes to gasoline prices, petrol prices, so to substitute your electricity costs. And then you have generators, your smaller generators, which we run on. They might not be so costly to buy up front, but the repairs that come from the consistent surging of the load shedding in and out, they add up as well. So in recent time, we've probably had to buy a new generator every 2 months because of, you know, parts of that generator blowing due to the surges and the connections. So financially, that definitely has had more of an impact than the water. You could say X amount of 10,000 times maybe 3 or 4 months. So you're looking at a good, 30, 40, maybe 50,000 rands worth of expenses over the last few months.
And if these water shortages are to continue and load shedding, we know there's no indefinite ending to it, how will it impact the business?
Everyone wants to be positive, and I've been positive. It's not our only bar. We may remain positive in spite of difficulties that we have no control over. But it will lead, unfortunately, maybe not to business closure, but to unemployment of our staff, because we have to maintain the business to at least protect those who we can. Closing is always the last resort. But unfortunately, those fixed costs like staff, and they've got to feed families. They've got some of them they are providing for 2-3 families. So that, I feel, is going to be the biggest impact in the short term. Long term, I can't say. hopefully we have a good peak season and a good festive season, and that helps us to push through into next year.
Okay, thank you very much. Jonathan Hergadi, the owner of Jolly Cool's Bar, yeah, saying that the continuous spates of not only load shedding but these water cuts as well could have dire consequences for the staff here, adding to the ballooning unemployment numbers that we already have in the country.